Okay. This is to open the meeting of the Litchfield Park Planning and Zoning Commission for May 12th, 2026. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First item on the agenda is the call to community. I don't believe we have anybody, do we?
Vice Chair, we have not received any requests to speak this evening, and there is no one present.
Okay, next item is business, item number 4. And would you like to present, Randy?
Thank you, Vice Chair. We have 4 items of business this evening. Item 4A is the approval of minutes from our last meeting. I'd be happy to answer any questions or would look for a motion from Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Derry?
Thanks. No, you brought it. It's okay.
It's okay. I'm fine. Good.
Thank you.
I'm not hearing a response from Board Member Derry, but we do certainly carry the vote with those 4 members.
Okay. Then motion passes. We'll move on to 4B. Zoning Code Text Amendment, Section 31, accessory structure, screened height.
Vice Chair, thank you. Members of the Commission. It's been a long time and a number of meetings. If you recall, at our last meeting, there was a lot of conversation about the direction of City Council and the items of note that we all discussed in November about accessory structures. With your motion to table last month, that information and the subject of our conversation was shared with City Council last month. City Council also decided to not act and tabled the introduction of accessory structures. So what I've brought back before you are 2 items, 2 motions for your recommendation to City Council to approve or deny, either way, as well as a follow-up on our work study session there on item D, which I don't want to get ahead of myself too much on. So just to shake the tree once again and talk about where we are and how we got here. Based on a number of ongoing residential concerns, the city conducted an audit of all 600 accessory structures on 523 different houses approximately, to see where any sort of shortcomings were, where people were in violation or could be fixed. The intent of Commission, Council, and staff is to create common sense solutions, but not necessarily give carte blanche, free reign to everyone to do anything. So as mentioned in section 3103, these are the criteria in which we evaluate, talks about the setbacks, and then the one of nature that we're going to talk about more in depth is what a screened accessory structure is and what setbacks it may have. Currently, that is essentially wall height or lower, and whether or not that makes sense. When you're above the wall, it's the 5-foot setbacks. When you're above 10 feet, you have to add a foot of setback for every foot above 10 as you continue to step back your setback. Corner lots we talked about right now on the books is the street setback is the same as the front setback, which basically negates the ability for anyone to put a shed against the road if they're a corner lot, which means instead of being located away from your neighbor, you have to put it against your neighbor. The alley, the storage buildings or garages on alleys, we didn't really have any opinion of the matter because those seem to be working just fine on, Redondo and Palm and those sorts of avenues and streets. The shade accessory structures aren't really a concern, and we didn't really talk about too much. the guest house allowance in 8 is basically to state that if you have enough of a side yard, the guest house does not need to be in the rear portion of the yard behind the house. It can be next to the house. And number 9, a lot of our conversation last month was regarding the view fence on side yards, thinking Bird, Old Litchfield, Acacia, Oro Vista. And essentially on the books today, it negates the ability for anyone to put any sort of structure in their backyard. Now I'm going to focus on just one other thing as far as the height. 15, that hasn't changed. Lot coverage, this is the other thing that was of discussion by P&Z, a different direction by City Council, excuse me, and then back to a redo of the conversation on letter F, but I'll get ahead of myself if I talk about it too much. Now, all this being said and done, the one item of focus last month, and I'll jump ahead here, was regarding the screened accessory structure conversation and allowance of location. When we last talked, we had suggested 8 feet in height. We had a resident say that they looked everywhere, they couldn't find anything that was 8 feet high. They can find a lot of things that are less than 9 feet. And then at City Council, one of our council members had noted he had done the same thing through the big box stores, gone through the whole catalog and could not find anything less than 8 feet, but found plenty of things that are 9 feet or less. So this is the first part, and just for this specific, I think I have my item wrong, item which City Council had advised on. For what is a screened accessory structure, meaning a 0-foot setback, be against your neighbor's wall. Right now it's at wall height or less. No one buys those sheds anymore. No one has those sheds anymore. And through discussions and advancement, we are now suggesting that a screened accessory structure is anything 9 feet or less and less than 120 square feet. So we're defining screened as 9 feet and less, and we're saying that it's screened allowance for location less than 120 square feet and 9 feet in height or less. I'll pause there just to answer any questions about where we are, and then the next item is going to explain this a little bit further about what the next steps are.
Questions? Nothing.
Let me move forward and
Okay.
hopefully explain this a little. So there's going to be 2 recommendations and 2 motions requested by staff. The first is to address the initial request of City Council to talk about the heights. And that's what that text amendment and that new language on the previous slide is indicating. However, there was a number of other items that you had requested and you had directed staff to in November or December. I always forget which one it was. Thank you. In December, which was not discussed last month, which was a concern by P&Z, and now I'm bringing it back up to you again, and it's outlined in more detail in your packet. There's 4 items besides the height that were of direction by P&Z. Firstly, a complete scratch and removal of number 5. Corner lots accessory structures shall be set back the required side street setback distance. This would then allow sheds, accessory structures to be on corner lots, to be away from residents by being against the street instead. That was a lot of our conversation in December. There was a lot of focus on the neighborliness, I guess, of having sheds being next to your neighbor. If it's against an alley, if it's against the course, if it's against the street, you're not affecting somebody. You're affecting nobody, essentially. So it was your direction to staff to strike this, and that is what is being shown. If I've missed anything or need to change this, we can certainly amend the motion accordingly. 9 was, I think, Commissioner Fick had mentioned this a lot about the vitality of enjoying backyards against the course. So right now, this is the indication that when you have the view fence between lots, you have no accessory structures. The part that is added is in all caps. That is true, and that would apply for all accessory structures containing 1 or more wall. So 4 posts and a roof, this does not apply. A media wall or anything that is 4-sided then that's a no-go. Then you couldn't have that against the course. So this was that compromise we talked about in December as far as, well, people still want to use their backyards and have that, but a 12-inch column isn't an opaque blocking of the course. The other two items of the rest of the conversation we started in December was on lot coverage. Commissioner O'Connor had mentioned this and had asked about this. I am suggesting to commission to strike or exceed 500 square feet in area, whichever is less, to basically allow someone to better utilize their backyard in a percentage basis. So 25% of a rear yard or a 6,000 square foot lot is a lot different than a 40,000 square foot lot. So as far as accessory structures that are clearly, subservient to the main house may be 4,000 square feet on a 40,000 square foot lot, but they're still left with only a 500 square foot accessory structure. Well, we have someone, I think on a Staro or Cercato, that has a full tennis court in their backyard, and they're looking at multi-generational living, and 500 square feet is not going to be enough for that sort of situation. So in that situation, 25% of their backyard is a lot different than 25% of, someone on Laguna per se. So this would have been essentially strike out that and use the percentage base instead. The last one, subletter H, is a cleanup of building code versus zoning code. In building code, the allowance to not require a permit is up to 200 square feet. We have old language that's 120 square feet. Now, this only applies if you have no utilities. Water, sewer, power going to it, you still need a building permit. But there are situations, not a lot of situations, but there may be some sort of structure that's 140 square feet per se. This would essentially bump up that requirement for a building permit to 200 square feet to match the current international building code, or international residential code, excuse me. So these were the items. We watched the December meeting again to make sure that we had covered it and talked about all the other items that you wished for council to move forward. So that's the idea, is that staff is still advancing this particular item, which was the original interest of council. However, we now have this secondary motion and secondary recommendation for all the other topics that were of discussion, so that council considers not only the height, but also these other allowances and conversations in two different motions, two different considerations, but both. We'd asked for your recommendation this evening to move both forward to council. With that, I'll happy to answer any questions on these two very similar subjects.
I got the question. The first question I have is on the corner lots. I'm interested in other people's feedback, because I understand the looking at it where, we want it away from the neighbor, but it's also in some ways, in some instances, I'm picturing in my head, like that can be ugly from the street, which then kind of affects everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It depends how we look at it, right?
Yep.
It could affect everybody versus, because you kind of mentioned it where it doesn't affect anybody because there's nobody adjacent to it. So I think I need a little help with other people's opinions on that to help me get straight on what I think on that.
Mm-hmm.
The question with the fence walls, I brought this up last time. If someone owns that, do they have the ability to build a wall?
We actually, Commissioner O'Connor, thank you for the questions. Our code enforcement officer, planning assistant, and I had this conversation earlier today. Yes, you can. That's the very short version. Or if you had a hedge wall and no one knew any wiser, there isn't consistency in application. We have some folks that have like one course, like a 10-foot or 20-foot section that is a view fence, and then it goes to solid. We have no objections to persons removing view fencing and putting in solid walls. There's a belief that it has to remain. We are not opposed to it. However, those walls are on a shared property line. So one couldn't do it without the permission of the other. And I think that's going to be very unlikely that you're going to get two people that want to remove it in favor of a solid wall, but maybe.
Well, people will, in my opinion, people will find a way to do what they want to do.
Yes,
I mean, because really someone could build a wall right next to the gated fence wall too.
that's correct.
So it's, I think I just want us to be careful in like thinking that one through.
Mhm.
Because I happen to live on a golf course lot there, like that, and I know, Susan does too. So hits home to us, pun intended. But like people could just build a wall and then do what they want within there. So I think,
Yes. I mean, that's what keeps Rena employed, is people doing whatever they want without asking us.
well, but I mean, even with like, they could get a permit to build a wall, and then do their little whatever thing they want to do. So.
Yes,
So to me, there's some, like, it kind of becomes a moot point to me for us to change that, if that could be done.
okay, thank you.
Don't we have it outlined in our P and Z code that there are clearly defined view fences? Because I could have sworn that we had in there.
There was too.
Yeah, I
just on
remember
different
reading it.
Tracks.
Yeah.
Vice Chair and Commissioner, can you elaborate that? You believe it's somewhere in the zoning code?
It
There's-
states that there must be a view fence located, and it defines like
Mhm.
what is a view fence, and it needs to stay a view fence. And granted, I mean, I guess if both parties on each side agree to make a solid wall there, then I guess it's not an issue.
It's
I don't know.
definitely rear, sorry to interrupt, it's
It's-
definitely
yeah.
rear. I know the rear, you can only go up 18 inches
Yeah.
with a wall, and you have to have view fencing. So the rear, yes, I don't know if the sides
I
carry
think-
the same, but you're saying the
Yes.
sides carry in some areas?
I thought that it did state that, but I may be mistaken. So,
News to me,
okay.
our planning assistant is rapidly doing some research.
Okay.
Say
I may be wrong, but I just.
She might have an
recall-
answer.
Section 30,
It is section 30.
walls, landscaping, and fences.
Brian, so you're saying that what's the point of saying that if somebody could put a wall, because might as well just let them do it now, or are you saying like,
Yeah, like,
As long
so,
as they
so
don't-
your neighbor across the street, what he did would be illegal at this point.
which neighbor?
The one that put that, the wall up with the pool.
The Todd's,
Oh,
the media, the barbecue media center.
So right now you couldn't do that,
oh, okay.
but he could build a wall in between, and then nothing could be said.
That actually is a wall in between. It's a wall and then view fencing along the top,
Oh, is it?
but it's not a wall along the back.
But I guess, listening to your point, yeah, you're right, but that would change it, right? Because like he was, like, Randy was saying,
Mhm.
you have to get permission, so now both neighbors agree, so that, helps. And then also if there's a wall that I get to look at, that I got to choose to look at instead of whatever atrocity I thought you're building in your backyard. To me, it is different, and it's worth.
Well, but I guess my point too is, if your neighbor doesn't want you to build a wall, you could be like, well, I'm sorry, I'm gonna build a wall on my lot, right next to the view fence, and you can keep the view fence, but I'm gonna build a wall right along it.
Okay,
There's no stopping.
gotcha. I see what you're saying. Okay.
My concern is people will find a way to do what they want.
That'll make it worse.
That could make it
Exactly.
potentially worse.
Okay.
Into the, see if I can zoom in.
Well, they would need to get a building permit for that wall.
Yes,
Commissioner
but the,
Baum, it depends on the height.
Okay.
6 feet or less, no, because it's not a engineered wall.
Interesting. So I could put a 6 foot or less wall all over my backyard, like a maze if I wanted.
Yes. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would sell well. You may want to talk to your local real estate agent.
Right.
So what I'm in is section 30 walls, landscaping and fencing. And I don't think it changed. This is one of those sections of code that has a time and place. There's a specific June 6, 2007 notated here in the highlight that before or after affects things. I don't know why. I don't know what happened that day. I don't know who was here that day. So where I'm going is in heightened design 30-02. I'm seeing if there's anything related to the conversation in which you've mentioned. Now, we were talking about within the front yard, the side yards, and then corner lots. Now, after June 6, 2007, there was a architectural requirements as far as walls. So here, to your point, in residential districts, walls and fences on rear lot lines adjoining golf courses, public pathways, and parks shall be full view walls or full view fencing. What a full view wall is, I don't understand. That doesn't sound like a wall. I know what a full view fence is. Here's the other part. In residential districts, walls and fences on side yard property lines adjoining golf courses, public pathways, or parks shall be partial view walls or partial view fences. However, that is specific to adjoining golf courses. There's a good house on Fairway.
Read the next one.
I'm sorry,
The next one.
in resort and open space districts.
Walls and fences separating golf courses from adjoining residential districts shall be full view walls.
Yes,
Okay,
so
thing.
specifically in the zoning districts that are resort or open space, which means the Wigwam
Mhm.
or the Wigwam's golf course. Those are what a resort district or an open space district would be. Just get back, there's a house on Fairway. Maybe you all can think of it with me. If you drive up Neolin, Wigwam's on your left, houses on your right. I know one of our Wisconsin friends is familiar with this area. But as you turn on Fairway, there's a house that their side yard abuts the course. So
Mhm.
for this situation, and number 3, his side yard is required to be view fencing. That doesn't mean that every house has to have side yards with view fencing, only if the course is on their side yard. So the conversation about that 18-inch wall, I'm not sure if that is maybe this before June 6, 2007 requirement. To my knowledge, that is not something that is a requirement in our code.
So then if somebody comes to apply for a full wall around their golf course lot,
Mhm.
you're saying that it cannot be denied based on the way it's written?
Commissioner Fix, the side yards, we couldn't prohibit solid. The rear, yes, it has to be full view.
Okay. There are several that have walls. We just don't notice them because they have vegetation.
Right.
The other odd thing about this conversation, just to stay on this tangent a little longer, is we've had 3 variance cases to the Board of Adjustment for houses that back to the pathway, the 10-foot Sunset Rose colored pathway, that have dogs or have privacy concerns and have applied for variances to remove that requirement of full view fencing against the pathway. And then ironically, we've only had one person ever take down their solid wall behind Scout Park and put in a view fence on Scout Park. If any of you have been by there, the center house has now have a full view fence.
New owner.
It's the first instance we've ever had where someone came into compliance and wanted to come into compliance with that.
It's like we need to send them a thank you note. So.
We can.
But they're new owners, So they understood
Yes.
the task, right? I
Well,
bought a lot on this beautiful park. Why do I have a wall in my backyard?
Yeah, and for them, I forget their names. I know their names, I can see them in my head. They wanted the view of the park, which is why we have it in our code. So they were very excited to tear down that wall, put in a fence instead. Other questions I can answer about these two motions, and if there's need to change this motion, happy to take that feedback as well.
I do have an off question on how do you arrive at the 25% lot coverage? Does that include, say, if there's a 30,000 gallon pool in the backyard, is that part of the
Oh.
25%?
Thank you. So, yes, it is. Because, and this is a very odd way to go about it. We've been very particular about surgical cuts of this code, but the code is broken. You know, we keep putting Band-Aids on it, but it needs to a full nuclear option. So this sort of change specifically calls out accessory structures from the rear plane of the house, meaning the back wall, to your back wall of the lot. And you draw an imaginary box around that and you say, whatever that acreage or square footage is, you know, cut it in a fourth, and that is what defines the limitation. Or on the books today, 500 square feet, whichever is less. So for that person who had 20,000 square feet in their backyard, it was still 500 square feet as well as permitted. So this uses the lot coverage as the guiding factor to say that regardless of lot size, it's still only 1/4 of your lot can have a accessory structure, meaning that no one has essentially two dwellings within the same lot or is completely removing their backyard because it's still only 1/4 of the space in the backyard.
I feel that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, although I feel like it's a little different than what we talked about.
Okay.
I recall us talking about like, it would be whatever your lot coverage is for the entire site.
We can do that. That is certainly easier for me, quite frankly, because that just means whatever the house, garage, and porches and patios covers counts towards maximum lot coverage, and then whatever's left can be accessory structures. So I can amend this and we can talk through the motion as far as how that would be amended. And I can take that forward to city council next week with that. So essentially F would reread as no accessory structures or combination of structures shall occupy more than the maximum lot coverage. End of sentence, I think is what you're.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm also looking at like, if someone maximizes their house on their lot,
Yes,
we don't really want them to be able to even add.
that's correct.
Right now, they
Yes.
could add a 500, so they could go beyond.
No, that last sentence there, after my strike through, no accessory structure
Okay.
cause the maximum lot coverage applicable to the lot to be exceeded.
So to me, I don't like the idea of inhibiting someone from maximizing their entire lot with whatever their lot coverage is.
Mhm.
And it makes me think too, do we have limits of how many structures you can have on site? Because at one point, I thought it was, you could only have like one structure.
Commissioner O'Connor, it's not that, but it's also kind of a convoluted way to say something very similar. Hopefully no one needs any drama on me. I'm going to scroll really quick. So,
So these applications still come in and they're reviewed. And I know that you have to look at them objectively, not subjectively.
correct?
Well, that's probably we'll let you finish what you're doing, but can you
Sure.
walk me through how that looks like for you? If somebody comes in, to Brian's point, they already have two accessory structures or just one, and they want to add more to support the one that they have, and how does that How is that controlled?
Thank you. So I'm trying to find it. There. Oh, it was on the same thing. So no accessory structure or combination of structures shall occupy more than 25% of the area lying between the rear of the principal building and the rear property line. So I don't know, you could have 5, you could have 1. Combination of structures is how we review that, because we have an instance in the village where there's, I think, 5 accessory buildings. The lot size allowed that sort of situation. So most people have a shed, some may have a pergola, some may have a pool house. So that those sort of things collectively on the books today, 500 square feet max, assuming all structures. And do you have questions about the subjective and objective?
I do, back to Brian's point about the corner lot situation.
Yes.
Rather than put it up against your neighbors, they can put it up against the corner lot, but
So
is there a design checklist of what this structure has to resemble if it's on a corner?
great question. I'll come here to G. Design of accessory structure shall be compatible with the principal building with respect to colors, materials, and forms. That is all illegal language. I can't say any of that.
Right.
I can't do any of that. So the thing that comes up is, and this is why we were very specific about this. Accessory structures, except for screened accessory structures, shall be subject to design review board approval. Meaning, if you couldn't see it historically because it's lower than the fence, you don't need to come into any sort of compliance. These sorts of sheds, no one can buy, no one can find. And we've had, before this changeover with the code, we've had situations where the house is slump block. I can't buy a slump block shed.
Mhm.
You know, this one has siding, this one has stucco. Well, I can't buy a stucco shed either. So design review board has had to make somewhat compromises as far as at least the roof looks the same and the colors are the same. We can't match materials. So it's been quite a challenge for folks to find something on the shelf they can't. So they've had to go a custom route and try to spend a lot more money to accomplish something that is still de minimis in size.
Mhm.
So that is why our proposed language change is specifically for screened accessory structures. So to answer your question, we would say that even though it's 3 or 4 feet above the fence, we still call it a screened accessory structure, meaning it is exempt from design review. That's what this is indicating. For me, how can I objectively review a Home Depot or Lowe's Ace Hardware shed against the house? Because I can't use the house, because now I'm talking about a subjective interpretation of what the house looks like and what the shed looks like. It's just, I don't know a path of success with that. When it's of a certain size, I can call out light reflective values of the colors. I can call out roof pitch, but I can't say must match roof pitch because then that's subjective. It's a mind-boggling situation. We just had design review board last week for changes to an RV garage. I couldn't talk about the way it looked. I couldn't talk about the colors being used. All I could say was that the pavers are an approved material for a driveway. The RV gate is an approved height permitted by code, but I can't give commentary or feedback about the way it looks, just to stay on this subject for a little bit longer. Hence why, instead of having people go through a custom build route and me still not being able to interpret it,
Mhm.
we're saying that 9 feet and less, you're outside of design completely. And again, it's a long-term solve as far as what in the world is an objective design standard and how does anyone not meet that. All I can say is must have windows. But I can't say must be the same height or match mullion and button style than the house, because that's again subjective. It's just a huge pain with the state law.
So if I understood that, a wall of 6 feet, this is going to 9. If it's a Rubbermaid shed, we're still gonna see. 3
Correct.
feet.
The pitch and the peak of the roof, which is, it's really one of these situations that we're trying to figure out. Do we force everyone to dig a 3-foot hole and bury half their shed so that it can't be seen by the road? With our new app, Engage LP, available in the App Store and Google Play.
Have you read the comments?
Good work. We see every comment. Yes, we see the Facebook posts about it.
Yes.
The big thing is, if anyone is watching, if you have questions about the city, Facebook is not the answer. We are not on Facebook. You need to call us 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. We're available to answer your questions. So we're aware of the echo chambers, but we haven't gotten any calls from those folks. We can react to phone calls and emails that we receive, not, I saw your post on Facebook and chime in here. So there's huge opinions, and I don't envy your positions. There's huge opinions about, we hate all sheds. We don't want to see that junk. And there's the opinions that I've had this shed for 40 years. Why is someone spending their days going and finding these situations? I'm dealing with one on Bird Lane, and wonderful couple, wonderful people. Their shed's in the front yard. And so someone came to us and said, that's not the right place for that. And we have to react and we have to respond to that. And it is illegal. But it's been there for 10 years. It's a terrible situation where we don't have HOAs, but we are the HOA. These are the rules, the covenants and codes.
Well, I mean, they have to get wrangled in at some point, right?
Yeah, and it's my belief that as the community moves into the future, stuff's gonna get more modern and people are gonna want things to be nicer. And if you don't do that, we don't find a way to make the city nicer. You've all seen those neighborhoods, you know, that at one point were nice. And Litchfield Park, to me, fits the model of a neighborhood that if we don't do this well and raise the standard at some point, this place is not gonna look better over time on its own. I don't think it will.
So that gets back to the whole heart of this matter. Is when this started occurring and we had people involved, the city, our intern spent 1.5 years going through every single house, measuring every single shed, inventorying every single house that had one, to say that right now, by the books and letter of the law, there's something like 400 violations. We are not a proactive city as far as enforcement goes. And the mayor had a good point as far as, if 2 neighbors don't have an issue with each other, who's to say that it needs to be a problem? I'm paraphrasing, but that's essentially the crux of the matter. So we came up with all these very tailored things to say that we could fix a lot of these non-compliance by doing this or by doing that, but there are trade-offs. Yeah, so we could say that 9 feet and you're fine. That fixes at least 80 or 90% of all violations. And if you've all lived with having all these sheds and you're just unaware, then it's not a bother. But for some folks, it's a huge bother. And it's just a matter of, this is a way to bring a lot of folks into compliance and shut down a lot of the issues. But the reality is, now you have 3 or 4 feet of a shed sticking up above the wall.
Going into the future.
Forever.
Yeah.
Until code changes the game.
Yeah, and that, you know, I think we need to think about that, just you know what I mean, for the future of the city. What do we want? Are we okay with this moving forward versus what do we need to do to solve the historical problem?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Those are 2 separate things to me.
Yeah,
Because on one hand, I want to do it. I just want to be like, let's take it up 9 feet. Let's pass this thing, right? And then we're solving it. It's off our desk. The problem with that is
It's ugly.
now we get 1 million more Rubbermaid things, you know, and that's difficult too. I don't know. Is there a way or you know, I guess in one way, I just want to grandfather stuff that's here, solve that problem.
Mhm.
And then draw a line and say, moving forward, it's this. Is there a way for us to do that?
The Commissioner Bone, the time and place, very similar to the walls, is possible, obviously, because we did it with walls, but then it becomes a matter of, do you like everything that you see today? And if so, then everyone's cast in resin and good to go. But then it becomes a matter of enforcement as far as I installed it last week. What are you talking about? That was a week before you adopted that code. And it becomes a matter of a lot of interpretation and discussion as far as what day did you install it? When was it installed? And the part of this is, and the mayor had brought this up as well, as far as there's only a very, very few select folks that are shaking the apple tree. No one else is concerned about this. So is it our responsibility then to announce to all, 2,800 homes that get your sheds in today and you're set? Starting tomorrow, sheds are no good. Again, it goes back to if two neighbors don't have issue with each other, how much do we really want to modify or do things? Or do we just take care of I think we have like a dozen, maybe, active, not active code cases, but active inquiries to the city about sheds.
Specific sheds,
Yeah. So then we just focus on those and not make any change, to your point.
Oh, yeah.
And John, I think that the mindset of most, I'd say 85% of the residents here, but that because there's no HOA, they can do what they want. So they'll just go buy, regardless if it's grandfather or not, they'll just go buy that 9-foot Rubbermaid shed at Home Depot and put it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea that we don't have an HOA here is a misunderstanding for people when they buy the house. It's just, it's a really small city. We don't need an HOA. The city's the HOA. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just not communicated maybe, but that's what it is, right?
Yes.
And you don't have to pay for that. It's in your taxes, right? So.
I'm now convinced that the corner lots and like when it's exposed to the public, I don't think we should allow structures. Cause to me, again, I think like me being involved in this, I notice them all the time. Like, what's that called when you look for blue and
You
you'll
get a
see
new
blue?
car, you don't
Yeah.
want to see that car, yeah.
So I see them, I think that does bring down the character to some degree. So I think I think that should be something we consider is that, if it's in your corner, like in the lot and from your neighbor, like, you're like, if you don't enjoy that, you could put some vegetation up, but like, there's something you could do to screen it on your side.
Or start a code case with our code enforcement officers.
I mean, I guess my point is if I had a side yard and there was a shed there and it would bother me that much, like I would put in some shrubbery there.
I'd like your solution. Unfortunately, the alternative is what keeps her full time.
Sure, but I'm getting off my point. The point is where the public can see it, I think we should not allow structures, is my stance.
So there's basically 5 topics of discussion this evening. The first being, what is a screened accessory structure? Currently proposed at 9 feet or less, on the books today, shorter than the wall. And again, you don't have to, I do ask for your recommendation this evening, if it's denial or approval to city council, because I need to have this conversation with city council next week and get their thoughts on the matter as well with your feedback. The other 4 parts of the other item, so the corner lots, as Commissioner O'Connor mentioned, the conversation about the golf course lots to permit accessory structures only with columns, unless they build a wall on their side yards. The 25% of the rear yard, and then the agreement with the International residential code for a 200 square foot exemption from building permit instead of 120 square feet. Any thoughts on these other topics?
Can we go back to the 25% of the lot? So does that mean that if someone's got 25% of their lot, that's the front yard, 50% is their house, and 25% is the back,
Hmm.
their whole backyard can be built out? Is that what you're trying to say?
I'm sorry.
Or-
The current, thank you for asking. The current code draws an imaginary line along the back of the house,
Okay,
two side yard walls and the back wall, and says 25% of
that's space.
that space, that imaginary space.
Is that what, that's not what
Brian
you were
was
saying
saying
though.
that
You're
Commissioner
saying
Connor has
75% of the whole
suggested
thing. Right.
that the zoning district standard lot coverage is the allowance for any and all structures on the lot. Let me get to it.
So the residents would be, well, the residents couldn't be included in that. It would be included in that. Okay.
Oh, I'm going the wrong way, excuse me. For those that haven't read it, about 240 pages, great read, if you have trouble sleeping. So let's take residential estate or like Bird Lane. R1 is Estero, Cercado, up there, Campina. So in that situation, max coverage is 30% for the lot. We have specific standards for accessory structures, but to Commissioner O'Connor's point, if we just wanted to use the district standard for any home in that district, then it's 30% under roof, regardless of what it is attached to the house or detached to the house, anywhere on that lot. This is a lot easier for staff to do, and it's consistent in that situation.
So would that create, so that would create more coverage in the backyard, not less.
Significantly more,
So it could
because
theoretically cover the whole backyard, almost.
5 feet from your neighbor walls, still 10 feet from the house. So that hasn't changed because you can't have two flammable structures within 10 feet of each
Yeah.
other.
Okay.
But yes,
But so let's do a quick example though. So like, there's a minimum square foot house on those lots.
Say 3,000.
Yeah, if you look at the Cercado one that you talked about.
Yep.
It's 2350,
yes.
right?
Yeah,
And then the lot average is what, 21,000?
that's the minimum lots area, yes, square feet.
Okay, so then if they put a secondary structure in the backyard, what could be the maximum it could be?
So 21,780, 30%, 4,000 square. Could be bigger than the house in that situation.
And so we would also be saying that they could do two structures at 2,000 square feet.
Yes. Now, the other thing is we get into, and let me go back to, I don't know that you can have accessory structure larger than the principal dwelling. The other thing we get into is we have agreements and state laws for the protection of Luke. And we do not allow, and we were talking about this before the meeting started, we do not allow accessory dwelling units because we're within the vicinity of a military installation, we're in the flight path. You can't do a separate accessory dwelling and have another family essentially renting it because now we've just doubled the amount of people underneath the flight path. It's a safety concern as far as if any jet should go down. That's why we have warehouses everywhere now, because in case of calamity, it crashes into a concrete box instead of a home. So, oh, excuse me. I think we'd really have to consider if we wanted that situation where it's a Vrbo or an Airbnb and you have essentially 3 families living in 3 different dwellings on that property. And I know I'm worst case scenario here, but I just want to make sure we're understanding the realities to your point as far as if it's minimum 2350 and you have 21,000, then you still have another 4,000 square
But
feet of under.
We are forgetting one thing though, we have other setbacks.
Sure, yeah.
So like,
So,
there's
yes.
like, you wouldn't really be able to put 4,000 square feet. So I think that's kind of, to really look at it, uh, fairly,
Mhm.
we'd have to consider that.
Thank you. That was a great point.
Randy, are you saying that a person cannot build a guest house in their backyard because of loop?
I'm sorry, and this is, it's semantics, and I apologize, but I have to split the hair. An accessory dwelling unit usually has a separate address, has a separate APS meter, water connections,
Understood, okay.
all that sort of stuff. A guest house is clearly part of it, not a separate mail, no separate meter. You have to run from your meter. You may have to upgrade the panel, but it all is or part of the main house.
That's the difference of an ADU and a.
Yes, a guest house also cannot have the 220 volt for the oven. The air fryers, pressure cookers, now who needs them? Air fryers can do everything.
So a guest house would be anything over 200 square feet.
We don't have a minimum size, to my knowledge, for a guest house.
Okay, good.
And
A section under like the building permits where you mentioned to have
Oh, I'm sorry.
accessory structures.
that's,
So didn't you say like if it's habitable, it has to have sewer connection and water connections?
I'd have to think of like excuse the terms, man cave or she shed. When you get kicked out of your house, you're sleeping in the bed
Okay.
out there tonight. That's habitable, but I still don't have any utilities there. It's just a cot. And
Okay, so you
pillow to
can
cry in.
sleep there.
Sure.
But nothing else really.
I mean,
Yeah.
Well, okay.
You can sleep anywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your car.
right.
Okay,
And I'm checking to see if there is a different kind of size maximum as far as can't be taller or, excuse me, larger than that.
I mean, I think it's 25-foot setback from the rear, 15 from the sides
Or,
on a building footprint.
so accessory structures have following. It's 10 feet from the principal, 5 feet from the rear and sides for accessory structures. So guest house, shed, garage, any of those sorts of accessory, pergola, ramada.
Yeah, so if I have a 5-foot setback on my house, I couldn't put a guest seat on the side of my house. I only have 15 feet probably. So, I mean, it makes sense to me now.
Wait, say that again.
Well, if you've got 5 foot from your side setback,
Mhm.
right? That you can build on, I think even the Cercado, some of those lots,
Mhm.
they don't have 50, 100 feet on each side of them. It's more in the back.
Sure, right.
So whatever's being built isn't right up against your
Sure.
neighbor, hence the sheds and.
What's interesting, Randy, is, being on design review since 2017, like we definitely operated under some different guidelines. Like one being, like, we would only allow one covered structure in the backyard.
In Commissioner Connor, those sorts of things concern me because this week when I win Powerball and someone else is here next week, all I go off of is code. And it concerns me that Daniel, John, Pam, Larry, Mike, I'm going from all the way back to 87, may have operated outside the code. I never want to put myself or the city in the liability concern that an interpretation was made outside of what is law. So
Well, yeah, and please don't take it as me like,
yeah, I hear you. I just, for the record,
I'm just saying, for a statement of like history, like we operated and there was only one structure that could be on, and you had to have like 15-foot setbacks on the side and rear to build something. And so,
I'd love to know more. I don't know if I'll have the time to go through minutes and see those kinds of conversations.
well, what's confusing to me in this too is like, there might be two different places in the code that tells
It's-
two different,
Yes, it's very fair.
so whatever one you look at,
Correct.
it's,
You're absolutely correct. And
so as a new person, I don't think anybody came in and like read it. We just
Sure.
went off the person in your seats.
And as you know, and as I like to harp on, there's 14 amendments to the village and the allowances in the village. And I have to memorize all 14 because every time there was an amendment, they reference a change, but no one ever changed the document. There is no document that covers and governs the village. There's 847 houses in Tierra Verde that are grandfathered because the plat standards with the home builder don't match the zoning standards that we adopted. There's so many instances where cleanup is needed, and I still will look for volunteers from this commission that would like to spend working sessions every few weeks with members of the design review board, members of RPBG, and members of city council that we have to rewrite all 39 sections of this code at some point.
Yeah, I think kind of to John's point, it's like, why are we even gonna touch these four? I don't know if that's what you're saying, but why touch these four when we really need to touch everything?
The school and the library open August 3rd. So August 4th, I take a 12-week vacation and I'll come back refreshed. Park hasn't started yet. Museum hasn't started yet. 2 more lots in the square haven't started yet. It's just me. I'm one of one.
Yeah.
Right. Rena hangs out sometimes as planning assistant, but as far as really getting into this, I'm 2 years in next month, and I don't know when that's going to start. I really don't. So yes, I'd love
So
to.
these four things are the top of the list that you're hoping to get handled.
These 4 things are being reactive to a number of residents that wanted us to explore our alternatives, which is why one of my interns for 6 months reviewed every single property so that we could have very large conversations and have real answers about what is the state of the city currently for the situation. So we've brought all this forward to you in December, to city council in January, February, April, and next week to try and solve a problem that may not exist. We are only reacting to a handful of residents that wanted us to do better and explore other ideas. We had a really good conversation about this in December, where we saw all these opportunities to make these sorts of changes. But as part of tonight's conversation, I think we're understanding that there are trade-offs to any sort of change that may degrade the look and the feel by relaxing standards in some situations.
And sorry, I don't mean to dominate this, but are we saying that if we have 523 houses that are out of compliance,
Yes.
right? So if we recommend this, it now puts them in compliance.
Yes. Almost 80 to 90% of those. But driving by, it's going to look like it looks today. And if we're good with what it looks like today as a commission, then we can move forward with these amendments. If we feel as though that this opens the floodgates for more Rubbermaid containers, then know that that's a reality that which we would need to live with.
I personally feel like the Rubbermaid containers is always going to be coming to your desk or to us. I mean, storage is a big thing with people.
We do have a number of options at, El Mirage and Gamlack Road or Bethany Home and Litchfield Road to take care of storage needs.
So we can't stop storage units, nor are we, any of us really saying we want to stop it, but we want to do the best we can so it doesn't affect the neighbor. Is that what we're?
Commissioner O'Connor, yes. And if there was a chance to grant a majority of folks permission to make these changes, that was a good result. I think that was council's direction as well. what can you specifically focus on that would resolve a majority of these issues? Which is why this initial amendment came up and was their initial direction just to fix one thing that could take care of a lot of it. But the difference between a shed that you can't see and a shed that is 9 feet is a big change. And so you all have that power to recommend this as written, to recommend approval or recommend denial. And I will take that to council next week.
I have one more thought on this. We're talking about they could have 0 lot line on it, right? They could be
Yeah.
right up against the wall.
That's correct.
So could that 9 foot technically be 4 feet off and be in compliance?
Oh, because it's back.
Yeah,
The way it's written, it sounds that way.
that's correct. Because the next criteria. Hang on, let me think about this a little more.
If someone wants a 9 foot shed, they can right now. They just can't put it up against the
That's
neighbor's
correct.
wall.
Yes.
So I don't know if we really want to give everybody the liberty to put it up against the wall, like keep it off the wall.
Okay, so this is a language clarification. Accessory structures with a height greater than the height of an opaque perimeter. Let me scroll back up. Fence, but 10 feet in height or less shall be set back from the property line at least 5 feet. So you're gonna be my first volunteer for the code rewrite, because you caught me in a bad situation. And to your point about different sections of code saying different things, you're exactly right. So me saying that up to 9 feet is screened and 0 foot setback, this subsection is in direct violation with that. And you are correct. I would have a situation that I would need to change this subnote also. I have to think about that a little more. So like number 3 here would have to read accessory structures with a height greater than 9 feet, but less than 10 feet shall be set back 5 feet. Because that's the only left of that criteria that still applies. Because the next note, accessory structures more than 10 feet in height shall be set back from the property lines 5 feet plus 1 foot for every height over 10. So up to 9 feet, wherever you want. 9 to 10 feet, 5 feet away. If it's 11 foot, 6 feet away. 12 foot, 7 feet away. 13 feet, 8 feet away. So on.
I think my point is, I don't think we should change it.
Okay. And I'm more than willing to take this direction because this horse is beat to death.
Yeah.
And what it means is that essentially we can resume enforcement for the dozen cases that we have. All of those have been on hold essentially while this conversation is occurring with you and with city council, because we weren't sure which way this was all going to go. So,
Well, I mean, the reality too is, I don't think anybody fully understands the code and the ability of what.
sure.
Basically, if we are not helping the neighbor out if we do this.
That's a fair way to say that. We're helping the owner of the shed in this.
And we're like basically making it worse for the neighbor. If
in
you want to
some
look
regards,
at that.
yes.
Yeah. With all that, I'm not in support of changing it.
Okay. So that's a good pause about this item particularly. So regarding the specific height change for what is considered a screened accessory structure, 9 feet in height or less. Right now it's at approval, but if you'd like to make a motion that is recommend denial of the proposed accessory structure heights, zoning code amendment to city council, I will take this forward next week as a recommendation of commission to deny this particular item, and then we can jump back into the other parts of the code.
I
That's
think,
a good question.
Yeah.
So this then means if they want a 9 foot, they have to push it back.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's very reasonable.
To leave as,
It says,
Mhm.
yeah, already there.
I agree.
I don't know why we're messing with
Yeah,
this.
that's a good, I think that's where we're getting stuck. It didn't make
this month,
sense.
at this
Okay.
point, it's 13 months of my life.
I know, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
But council might change it back anyway.
I know.
So
but it
That's
sounds,
so-
but if we say, by turning this down, it sounds like we're not allowing 9 foot accessories. And that, we have to make sure that that's not, we're saying we want to keep the existing, you can have a 9 foot, you just have to have it 5 foot off your property line.
Commissioner O'Connor, that is correct.
There you
Right.
go.
So
So,
the people are all out of compliance, they actually just need to move it.
Yes, and for some folks,
Most people's side yards can't. At least as far as the current violations or the complaints that I have.
will you unmute your mic?
Oh,
Thank you.
they just wouldn't be able to have it in that side yard.
And is that because that it would then encroach on the house? Because there used to be that, so can we change that? We change that so you can be,
So Commissioner O'Connor, the fire code comes into play, and that's one we don't want to mess with. Only because we would have to have the fire marshal and our building official review every single structure for flammability to determine if it's a non-flammable or a flammable structure. So we do on a case-by-case basis for some of the composite elite wood, Aluma wood structures that we know aren't flammable. We have on a case-by-case basis through the building official reduce that 10-foot separation. But that's a very specific one by one review. We don't have any indication are you storing gasoline? Are you storing oil in there? Well, then regardless of the flammability of the structure, you still have flammable material inside. And that's something we don't want to get into review of. You can be less than 10 if composite, if non-flammable, and if no storage of flammable materials inside. It's a lot of caveats and footnotes to try to reduce that.
and how many people fall into that category of this?
We have no idea what people keep in these things.
No, meaning like of the people that are out of compliance,
Oh,
what
thank you.
percentage couldn't move it because they would encroach the
The commi-
setback to their house?
The Commissioner O'Connor, the big thing about that, and a lot of what council gave feedback on also, is if they are encroaching unto themselves and they are in violation with themselves, who are we to call those sorts of situations out? Because they're not affecting anyone else. So if they've put a flammable structure too close to their house, have no design review approval, have no building permit, and one catches fire, chances are insurance is not going to cover, and chances are insurance is not going to insure them again. But that's unto themselves, not to any neighbor.
Right, I thought I heard that people wouldn't be able to have a 9 foot shed because they couldn't do the 5 foot setback because they're gonna be too close to their house.
Because there's a 10-foot separation to the house.
Right, but I think what I'm saying is I would rather protect the neighbor than protect the homeowner. So
We
let's
agree.
protect the neighbor by not allowing them, they have to do the 5 foot setback.
Yes.
And if they approach their house and they're out of compliance, that's on them.
Yes, we understand, and we're on the same page.
Okay.
We have a few folks that like built foundations or, had cranes installed, these sorts of things, but that's an unfortunate situation. And it really stinks that those custom builders didn't call us and the homeowner didn't call us, and they went ahead and did this sort of thing to some of that earlier conversation. So yes, the simple solve is move it. In most situations, that's possible. Some it's a little harder. So I don't know that you made a formal motion, or if you'd like to make a formal motion.
I mean, it's gonna be up to city council anyway. I think from our discussion, we deny it.
Yeah, I mean, I would move that we do not approve your motion.
Screened accessory, yeah.
If I,
How do,
mind if I
I would love it.
Commissioner O'Connor, I believe your motion on this item 4B is a recommendation of denial of the proposed accessory structure heights zoning code text amendment to city council.
Yes, and I would like to add that because we want to keep the existing, what's existing on the books, which still allows that structure on the site with the 5-foot setback.
Okay.
I feel like that's important to that, that's part of it.
Yes, and I can state that as such. That's not a problem.
So do we have a motion to deny the screened accessory recommendation? Do we have a motion? What am I saying wrong? Yes.
Are you,
That's my motion, yeah.
thank you. All right, you're just,
I second.
thank you.
All those in favor to deny? Aye. Anyone supporting?
Board Member Derry, are you able to chime in?
And I agree with the motion as presented.
Thank you. I hope it's wonderful in Wisconsin.
Define wonderful.
Cooler.
Nicer, well, definitely nicer, colder. And the wind is kicking up and going down. So, but it's better than being in 90 degrees every day.
Thank you.
90 would be nice.
We still have 2 more things to discuss.
So can I just,
Yes.
Randy, I've given you compliments almost every meeting, so I'm going to continue to do so because
I will continue to pay you as such.
how do we like convey this to the city council? Because city council is not going to think about it through our discussion. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want it to be.
So I will tell you with confidence, Commissioner O'Connor, that I was pleasantly surprised last month that they made a motion to table. I don't think I've had that before where I represent you at these meetings. So I represented all of our conversation. And based on the motion last month to table, they agreed and they wanted to hear the rest of the conversation that was your direction in December. So they motioned to table. So as much as this will be my 4th presentation to them next week, and they'll have a 5th, they wanted more information, and I will convey this information to them, and they have heard this information.
Okay.
I always have to be careful, and maybe this is, I know some of them watch these meetings. I am limited on how much I can convey in a short period of time because the meeting is a long meeting and often I have 4 to 5 presentations. So at some point, all of my coworkers roll the eyes when I go up to the podium again, but I try to condense and present as much as I can in a limited time.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the other item, there was 4 other parts of this discussion. We can make an amended motion. We can do none of this, do some of this, what have you. So the 4 things were the corner lots, which doesn't sound like it's supported, to strike, and we'll keep it on the books. The rear setbacks with the side yard view fencing. I don't know that I've heard clear direction from this group as far as how do you feel about columned structures instead of walled structures? Or is this something we just don't touch because we don't need to touch?
I don't think we need to touch it.
I think we do. I think it's gonna continue, people are gonna continue to build those outdoor entertainment.
And Commissioner Fix, in this particular instance, I am not permitting any wall. So even if it was an entertainment,
Sure.
if you'd like to change my language to say for all accessory structures containing more than 1 wall, so that 1 can be done. But that still has the situation that if it's to either side yard, that neighbor is obstructed because the entertainment will happen to be on that side. Instead of, because I don't think anyone's going to block their view of the course. And they're not going to block their view of the course from their house. So I can only see this impacting the neighbors.
Right.
So I have 2 sides of this conversation.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, I'm sorry, just before we get there.
Okay.
There's four topics. So this is the second of four, the third of which, to your point, Commissioner O'Connor, is do we want lot coverage to only be of the zoning district standard instead of the 25% or 500, or again, leave as is? And then I think the most straightforward one is, do we want to modernize the building permit exemption to 200 square feet to match international residential code instead of 120? Maybe we go backwards. Is any objections or concerns about the building permit exemption?
None.
I think that's great. Leave it. Yeah, that's good.
The lot coverage, right now it's 25% or 500, whichever is less. My motion just said 25% regardless. Commissioner O'Connor, you had mentioned the lot coverage of that lot as a whole for all structures, instead of piecemealing it up between rear yard and remainder of lots.
I like the way it's written there. For what it's worth, you guys, I understand what you're saying, Brian, but then that gives, man, that's it, like, you know, that could take up the whole yard,
But it can't. There's other, there's other guardrails in the code that wouldn't allow like, in our example, it couldn't allow 4,000. You still have setbacks.
So you're just saying that it would clean it up and make it easier if we just said lot size instead of.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, if there's other code that'll take care of it, then yeah, fine with that.
And Commissioner Bone, the other part is, and I should have explained this better, is accessory structures still have to be in the rear yard. You can't have an accessory structure in the front yard, so take out all that lot percentage anyways. Guest house is the only thing that's permitted in the side yard, but with 5 feet and 10 feet and a guest house, you'd have to have like a 40-foot side yard to even consider a guest house. So it really still falls in that rear lot area. It's just, to Commissioner O'Connor's point, simpler math, I guess you could say.
I don't think there's many lots that could end up having more than like 1,000 to 1,500 square foot structure based off of all the other requirements. And think about people have pools and like, so you have a pool, you got to be, 15-foot setback from that. Like there's not going to be really instances where there's going to be a 2,500 square foot secondary structure in the backyard.
The only one I can think of is along the path of Old Litchfield, on the west side of Old
Mhm.
Litchfield. Those homes,
Mhm.
and they've even blocked off a quarter of their acre. They
I
just-
have someone that wants to do one right now. That very road. So is there consensus about subletter F to use the district lot coverage maximums?
I think we use the district lot. I don't like a acre lot user. I think it takes away their property rights by making it too exclusionary, if that's the right word.
Okay, I'll go back to the other two items. We're scratching number 5. We're unscratching number 5. We won't modify that. And then back to our last topic, which has 2 viewpoints. On the golf course, right now, essentially no accessory structures. My compromise solution was only structures with columns, but not walls.
Yes.
I know for the two of you. I don't know if there's a stance from.
I thought we were
Guys.
agreeing. Were we agreeing?
On the columns
Yeah.
versus the walls, yeah, I thought
Yeah.
you were.
Oh, I'm sorry. I've misheard. So you are.
Yeah, we were agreeing with each other. I don't know what you heard,
Okay.
but yeah, we said the same thing. So both of us said we like that.
As I've stated.
Yeah.
Okay.
I struggle with it because again, I just like, you can build a fence and then that goes away.
If you build a fence, then this one, number 9 doesn't apply at all.
I know, I think that's actually worse for the person they would lose the see-through fence.
Yes.
So I think by doing that, the consequence is people will build fences in between the two lots.
And I mean, we talked about it as a theoretical today. I have not seen a single application to change Bird or Old Litchfield or Acacia or Oro Vista at this time for anyone that was wise to the act, I guess you could say. Unless they're watching tonight, thinking to themselves, that's exactly what I'm gonna do. But yeah, it's just, so yes, it's possible. Has it happened yet? No.
Yeah, in my opinion, I don't think we touched that one because like what are there are no issues with it right now, right?
We have one active code case and one other inquiry for an existing one that we'll have to review and open a code case against.
It's like, I almost would think it would make better sense to like make some guardrails in allowing it. Like, could you have it have the certain setbacks from the rear and the side in order to have that wall put up? Like, is there a compromise there?
Commissioner O'Connor, it's not part of our conversation tonight as far as section 30 and walls, landscaping and fencing. We could, as part of the rewrite, look at some guardrails to say that all lots with side yard view fencing shall maintain at least 20 feet of side yard view fencing adjacent to open space or golf course. Am I something like that?
Yeah, and the issue is like basically an entertainment wall, right? Is that
Yes.
so? If
Well, the one case that I have is, it's a shed. And it's in the setbacks and it's on a golf course adjacent home.
Okay.
So,
And we have another one which we're actively pursuing as well.
yeah,
And we have one instance of one house building an entertainment wall, which was permitted by DRB.
yes.
Okay, thank you.
so, how do we make those exclusive? Because I don't necessarily want someone to have a shed next to a view fence, but
Mhm.
again, they could still put the wall up, right? But like, I would be maybe in favor of some guardrails there, but like the entertainment wall to me is that's different to me than a shed.
Okay. So yeah, that was part of the conversation as far as the change of text to number 9 for all accessory structures containing more than one wall, to allow one wall to be up, to create the entertainment wall as an alternative to this discussion.
I think I could support that.
Okay. So I'll walk through what this could look like, and if someone wants to make a motion, let's talk through it. So for item 4C, recommend approval of the proposed accessory structure allowance of zoning code text amendment to city council with the following changes. No change to item 3103D5. Number 9, restated new text for all accessory structures containing more than one wall. On F, no accessory structure or combination of structures shall occupy more than the zoning district permitted lot coverage. H, as stated, 200 square feet or more.
So moved.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I'm going to go through this last one very quickly. I told my wife I'd be home for dinner, and I am a liar. The last one for tonight, item 4D, is the cleanup. We had a work study session last month about a very, very specific little cleanup things. We need to have a work study session in advance of a recommendation hearing. This is the recommendation hearing. There's 3 very specific changes. in section 8 violations, we are essentially matching the city of Avondale's city code for one little section of text. Right now, any violation in the zoning code is a civil violation with maybe two caveats. One caveat. In a group home, a violation of the group home section of our zoning code is a misdemeanor. And in that subsection, we state it's a misdemeanor. All this text basically says is any other section that doesn't state as otherwise is a civil violation, which is already inherently known. We are just restating it out loud so that there is no concerns or failures when this goes to court. To date, there have only been 3 court cases in the past 5 years. So this is not a normal occurrence. This is just a cleanup effort in that. I'm going to skip this one real quick and go back to screening. We're in section 31 again. The only change in this was to state outright dense living landscaping has to be used to screen RVs, boats. You cannot throw fake leaves on top of your RV and say that that's landscaping. Again, we know that, everyone knows that, but we're just putting the word living in there just to make sure someone doesn't get creative. Those are the 2 easy ones. The other one, which is longer and part of our conversation last month, is about parking in the city center, the downtown district. We have designed our downtown specifically to be parking deficient. We have done all the on-street parking. We will do a parking garage as needed. What has been a concern of the one that's under construction is they ran into trouble, just to recap, they ran into trouble with financing because the site is deficient. The site is grandfathered because it does not contain enough parking according to code. We've already addressed that through the development agreement and through our off-site on-street parking. But to the bank, they say your site's deficient. You can't rebuild in case of calamity. This is silly. We are saying that we will change that to say that no on-site parking is required. However, anything that is not part of your building, part of your landscaping, part of your patio space, part of the fire lane shall be parked. Basically giving them the ability to design accordingly. We would love for someone to come in and say, we're taking lots 5, 6, 7 between Papa Paul's and the church, and we're doing a 200,000 square foot, 3-story building, but we only have enough room for the fire lane. Sounds great. It's what we're after. It's what we're trying to do. I just build the parking garage sooner. So we are saying that that's part of it. The other part of that is you have to agree with the associated development agreement. Would we have a 200,000 square foot, 3-story, fully built out sidewalk to sidewalk to sidewalk building? I don't know. I'd love it. And we would have a development agreement in tow that handles any sort of that negotiation. So this is not a blank slate. This is not a hall pass for parking downtown. It is instead saying that we will tailor the parking solution for each development through the development agreement and through our parking garage in the future. So that's what we talked about last month in the workstudy session. What we're recommending is approval of these very specific 3 changes, calling spring cleaning, to the city council. We'd be happy to answer any questions on those.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All those in
Second.
favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Anyone? Okay.
We can move on to our next item.
Yay. Staff report on current events. Does anyone have anything to say about current events?
Vice Chair, I'm sorry, I'm first, and then commission updates are what follows. Unless we've misstated.
Very good. Did I miss something?
No, I think staff report is first, and then commission reports follows.
Oh, sorry. Staff
okay.
report on current events.
Commissioner, I have a million updates on a million projects going in the city. I just recommend, because it's not a discussion item, we can't talk about it anyways. Reach out to me at any point throughout the month. Be happy to talk to you about any of the projects. Thanks.
Commissioner report. Anyone have anything to say? Updates? Nope. Okay, do we have an executive session? I don't believe we do.
It is your
Good
discretion.
I hope not. No, no executive session. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Second.